All right. I have a little mini presentation if I can move your faces. Sweet. And then Serena, are you able to see when people like pop in? Oh no, I'd have to
Um,
make the post. You're good. I got it. I got it popped up.
okay,
Ignore me.
I think so.
Ignore me. All right, you guys, we're gonna go over overcoming some obstacles because it can be very different when picking out what's an obstacle and what's not. And a lot of things tend to be obstacles that we don't see them as obstacles even and how to overcome them. So here we go. So a little introduction. So overcoming health optional obstacles specifically, obviously when we're going through this program, we're going to run into more obstacles than just health related, but we're going to focus on health related for tonight's purpose. But it often is going to require like multifaceted approach to things, right? It's not just like a one size fits all fix. So like physical, emotional, mental, all of these things are going to tie into overcoming these things. Um, and I think really it just begins with like one, the acknowledgement that the challenge is there, and then seeking the like appropriate advice or guidance or figuring out a game plan, whatever works best for you personally, obviously, to understand the nature and extent of whatever this obstacle is. So a lot of times I'm speaking from personal experience here, and you guys can kind of chime in if this is something that you might do. Um, but I might have like a really small obstacle pop up. But maybe I've had a really overwhelming day, and that obstacle feels like the biggest mountain on planet Earth instead of just like the little speed bump that it is. So having someone kind of in your corner to be able to decipher that and walk through it with you and really compartmentalize different things to figure out really what is it that we're up against right here. And then of course, like developing that personalized plan to include either whether it's therapy or lifestyle changes or support from us when it comes to like your nutrition or fitness is super crucial, especially like when you do get that sense of overwhelm when an obstacle does arise, which I'm sure we've all experienced that a little bit when an obstacle pops up, having that plan in place is going to be a lot easier to actually check things off the list and get things done because our brain tends to go really scattered when things kind of go astray. Um, on top of that, equally as important is maintaining a positive mindset around it. And I say it's equally as important, but it's probably like one of the hardest parts around it because when something is like thrown in, thrown a wrench in your plans, a lot of times it's like, oh my gosh, the world's ending, everything's going wrong, and it's really hard to like be positive about it. Um, but I think it all comes back to, which we're going to talk about here in a second, is like setting realistic goals, expectations, things like that. If we're able to like keep ourselves at bay with those things, it's a lot easier to stay positive about it, even when they do kind of not go our way exactly how we really want them to. And of course, staying connected with a good support system, whether it be the group messages, the Facebook group, us, your family, friends, all of that's going to be helpful as well. And that goes for like anything other than just like health. All of this kind of can be go for anything other than just health. Um, and then, of course, like trying to stay with your routine that we're going to talk about and incorporating regular exercise, balanced diet that we're all working on, mindfulness practices that we're all working on as well. This can significantly enhance your overall well being to where the overwhelm of the obstacle might help it feel a little bit less overwhelming. Okay. Um, cool. So let's dive into two different sides of it. So I want to touch on the mental side first, and then we'll touch on the physical side. And these are just like a small handful of what we could be dealing with, right? There's so many more than just these, but based off of a lot of check-ins, working with you guys for a long time and stuff, like these are the ones that pop up the most frequently, which is why I'm going to touch on them tonight. So negative self-talk, unrealistic expectations, emotional eating, lack of self care, body image issues, guilt and shame, and then comparison to others. These are the top ones that I would say we see all the time. Let me see. Lack of self care. Yeah, exactly. And Serena, would you say that these are a pretty common trend, just like throughout check ins, whenever people are kind of having Debbie Downer moments, which we all have?
Yeah, definitely a lot of it. But the reason why I said I love that you included lack of self-care is because A lot of the times, a lot of the girls are moms, so they have to take care of everyone else, which understandably so. If you have an 8-month-old, they can't take care of themselves. But um, next to all that, you kind of just forget yourself, and then you're left feeling, you know, mentally fried, and then all of these other things creep in because of that lack of self-care.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly. Cool. Let's just briefly touch on each of these. So on this slide, we're going to go over kind of like, like what they are, how they kind of sneak in and stuff, how they affect overcoming that obstacle. And then we'll go over kind of some tactics on how to tackle these things. This might be a little bit repetitive of what you guys have heard in the past or from any trainings that you've seen in the course and stuff, but you guys, repetition and really driving it into yourself with this kind of stuff really, really helps because the constant reminder is what we need when it comes, especially to like the mental obstacles. The repetition is so, so, so helpful. I even need this, and I've been doing this for years, and like reminding myself of these things and how to overcome them is super crucial, especially when things kind of go chaos. Okay, so let's talk on negative self-talk first. We are all guilty of it. We have all done it. We've all looked at ourselves in the mirror at some point in time and said something not so nice, right? Um, so most of us struggle with this, if not all of us. I don't want to say 100%, but I'm going to say 99.5% of us have. Um, and the thing with this, that why I wanted to put it on here with the obstacles is because one, it's an obstacle in its own, but it also doesn't help when we have other things pop up. Because if we just continue to tear ourselves down, and the critical thoughts and beliefs, it can really hinder your progress towards anything. And specifically, most of us on here are trying to get some weight loss goals, getting your body back after having a baby, whatever it may be. But these negative self-talk obstacles is going to hinder that progress, getting you to where you want to be. Because even if you don't want to think it does, it is going to hold you back from your full potential of actually succeeding and doing like self-care things, which we'll talk about here in a minute, because you might think like, oh, I don't deserve it. Going to the gym or eating healthy and things along those lines. Um, Tying in with that is some unrealistic expectations. I feel like these two go hand in hand a lot of the times, because a lot of times we'll talk down on ourselves because we have such high expectations and it's really hard to reach them. You always feel like a failure because they're just really unrealistic for that moment. I do want to set a preference here and say when I use the words like unrealistic expectations or high expectations, it doesn't mean I want you to like lower the bar for like where I want you to go. I want you to like lower the next step because it doesn't mean we can't ever get there. I just think we need to take it baby steps instead of jumping. You guys have seen me do the whole jump of the mountain thing. I say it literally all the time, but jumping from step one to step 100 at the top of the mountain, we need to go one, two, three, four. So that's what I mean when I say unrealistic or things like that. Not that your expectations or goals are like far-fetched, because they're definitely not. But especially too, since we have a lot of moms on here, you often face a lot of pressure to like balance a lot of responsibilities, like Serena was just saying, which can lead to you setting those like unattainable weight loss goals on top of that. So being realistic with like how many workouts can you realistically get in? What kind of foods can you realistically prep? And really kind of like coming back down to reality because we do get sucked into like social media and TikTok where there's all these like aesthetically pleasing things that these girls that are in college and have no responsibility but going to a class once a day can spend their entire day doing, and then we end up comparing ourselves to that. So really bringing it back down to earth of like what is this really going to look like for my life right now, and then making it work there. The process might look a little bit slower, a little less sexy, of course, but that's okay. So we're setting those setting those realistic expectations to where it's setting you up for success rather than setting you up for failure to where you feel like, screw it, I don't want to do any of this because it's not working anyways. Okay. Emotional eating. Raise your hand if you've been personally victimized by emotional eating. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So coping with either like stress, anxiety, those negative emotions, or anything that like negative emotions that come with something throwing a wrench in your plans, right? Like obstacles that we're facing and stuff. Just turning to food, it can be like a significant obstacle for a lot of people with getting to their weight loss goals because a lot of times it's not, oh, I'm just going to ice cream. You guys know I always turn to ice cream. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to have ice cream for dinner. or something like that, which like if you want to, sure, I've definitely been guilty of doing that plenty of times, but it's more so along the lines of like, oh, I've already had dinner, I'm still stressed out. Now I'm going to eat this pint of ice cream instead of being smart with your portions and mix and matching like healthy versus balanced and things like that, or healthy versus unhealthy. Um, to make it fit more into the day, it's just kind of like I'm gonna go balls to the wall and I don't care what I've had throughout the rest of the day to get there. Hi, Christina, welcome. Um, so yeah, emotional eating, you guys know what this is. We've all been very victimized by it. So I'll move on with that one. We'll go over a little bit about how to kind of cope with that. Also, side note with this emotional eating though, I do have a workbook or like a ebook or whatever that I did a while back on emotional eating that so if this is something that you struggle with and you want to learn a little bit more about like kind of the root causes and reasons where emotional eating comes from, let me know. I can send it over to you if you haven't gotten access to that before, because it talks a lot more about kind of the mindset work in that one specifically, really, really detailed. And I'm pretty sure, Serena, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have a master class on it somewhere. Hi, it's me, I'm the emotional eater. Okay, I'll get you guys, I'll post it in the Facebook group, honestly, because a lot of people will probably like it. But I
I
think you have or I did I do a guest call with Nicole that one time?
Yeah, so I don't know if she
I don't
sent it
know.
over.
I might have the link somewhere. I'll look for it, you guys, because I did a guest call one time talking specifically on emotional eating. I'll put it on my to-do list real quick so I don't forget. And if I can find it, I will post the link to that as well because it was a while back, but it basically was going over that ebook as well. Um, cool. I'll get that for you guys. And then lack of self-care. So that work-life balance and everything, right? Balancing work, family, personal needs, babies. Um, it can really result in that neglecting of doing absolutely anything for yourself. And practicing any essentials that you need for weight loss, whether it be getting your steps in, going for a quick walk and getting some fresh air, getting your water in, prepping your breakfasts for the morning, getting your workout, just lacking all of those things. And then, so if we're already having a hard time balancing work, family, personal needs, other things like that, and then something else goes wrong, maybe your kid gets sick or something just happens, right? And you're now overwhelmed with that on top of everything else, you're 100% putting yourself on the back burner and not even thinking about what you possibly need. And so that's something we need to bring to attention as well, because your mental health and your self is just as important as everyone else involved in that situation. But sometimes we tend to forget that we're also a human involved in that situation and need to take care of ourselves as well. Body image issues, have to add it to the list because we all compare ourselves to those societal standards of beauty and stuff. Like I said before, the TikToks, the Instagram things, and just like comparing ourselves, which we're going to talk about at the end there, comparing to others. And then just like perfectionist look, right? And so making sure that we're focusing on loving the phase that we're in now is really, really big. And I mean, as much as I want you guys all to get to your weight loss goals and where you want to end up, I also want you to love yourself throughout the process, right? And that's what Serena and I really work on with you guys is, and these all tie in together, right? Like the negative self-talk comes back in with this one as well. Making sure that you're treating yourself with love no matter what phase of the journey that you're on is super big. That is also going to help with when it comes to like burnout and motivation and dedication. The two are different, but they go hand in hand throughout this process too. Because if we're constantly just beating ourselves down about our body, it's going to get to the point where we're just kind of like, why the heck are we doing this? We're going to be like this anyways, or there's no point, kind of throwing our hand in the air. But if we're learning to love the changes that our body's making and things like that, it makes it a whole lot easier to think about body image in a sense that like I deserve this and I deserve to do this for my body. I get to do this, like changing your verbiage around it. I have the ability to do this and being thankful for those things is super big in this that little category there. Next one is guilt and shame. I had to throw this one in there just a little bit. I feel like we don't hear it quite as often, but since we do have a lot of moms in the group, I know this is pretty popular with the moms. So you might experience some mama guilt for, taking the hour, 45 minutes, going and doing your workout, or taking time to yourself to go like take a bath or get your nails done or whatever, read a book by yourself, whether it be like locking them out of the bedroom or hiding in a closet somewhere, getting away with some quiet. But a lot of times moms do feel some guilt and shame around these things, but working to overcome those to know that like you do deserve that as well. And by you doing those things is only going to help you be a better mama and a better wife and spouse and things like that. So I had to throw that one in there for the moms because I know a few of you have experienced that. And then last but definitely not least is comparison to others. You guys have heard the saying like comparison is the thief of joy. I really don't need to say much more about it on top of that, but it's so easy, especially in a program like this, to see someone making different progress than you. Maybe you're on the same timeline, but maybe you're weeks behind that person and still comparing your journey to their journey. When realistically, what you're most likely saying, and I always like to add this in as a reminder when it comes to comparison, especially on a journey like this, is what you're most likely comparing yourself to is those side by side transformation pictures that we post sometimes, right? That side by side transformation is 1% of that person's journey, 1%. And that's all you're getting in on. You don't know what their food looks like. You don't know exactly what they're going through at home. You don't know what their sleep looks like. You don't know what they've been through in the past. So comparing yourself to those things, always just kind of remind yourself, like, that's the 1% that I get to see. I don't know the full picture. So really, the comparison that you're making is invalid, right? Because you don't have anything to compare it to, right? So just kind of reminding yourself about that with that obstacle, because that's always an obstacle that might, throw you for a wrench as well of like, oh, I'm not seeing as good a progress. It's not working for me. I'm done. But essentially like navigating these mental obstacles with like self-compassion, patience, and support from us, your coaches, your loved ones, is really going to help you overcome and achieve your weight loss goals successfully. And of course, remembering that no progress is linear and it's going to be up and down, up and down, up and down. But hopefully, there is that positive correlation to where we're going in the right direction. So, let's touch a little bit more on how to overcome these specifically. Some tactical things, starting with the top of the list again, but challenging and reframing those negative thoughts with positive affirmations. I know a lot of you guys, I'm pretty sure, and I can double check it because I have it right here, but that the gratitude journal that you guys get, I'm pretty sure they have affirmations in them. Or they prompt you to write affirmations in there? Am I correct on that? Yeah, is that right, Jackie? Okay, yeah. So this is something that if you notice you're struggling with this, please be utilizing that. And it might sound so dumb at the very beginning. I remember when I first started doing affirmations, I was like, this is stupid. I don't believe any of this. Like I was so annoyed with it. And I don't know if any of you guys were following me or if you guys have been a client since then. When I was in Auburn, I used to have an affirmation mirror in my apartment where I took expo markers and I wrote affirmations from top to bottom, like essentially all the way on it. And I would stand in front of the mirror. I don't want to say every single day, but I would try to as many days as out of the week, and read every single one. But you do it like looking at yourself as well. So that's also too, I'm sure we've given you the tip of like writing affirmations on a sticky note and putting them on the mirror and stuff. It helps to put them on a mirror because when you're saying them and you can see yourself while saying them, it's like you're talking that positive thought to yourself. And even if you don't believe it quite yet, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. I promise it does help. And eventually down the line, you will reframe those thoughts into actually believing the things that you're saying about yourself. And practice compassion with them as well, focusing on like your strengths and achievements and stuff. So yeah, I love affirmations. We will always be advocates with affirmations. Those are a huge help with negative self-talk. Unrealistic expectations. So the vice versa of that is set realistic expectations. We have helped you with this, especially when looking at like SMART goals and things like that at the very beginning of your programmings and stuff. So that should help here. But just like really breaking it down into smaller goals. Essentially, I like to look at realistic expectations, almost in the same way that we look at the 3x3 matrix when like tasks and things. So if you've seen the 3x3 matrix training yet, Jackie, if you haven't gotten to it yet, it's in the course that you'll be going through. But it's essentially where you focus on the big things that you want to achieve, and then you chunk it down, and then you chunk it down more, and then you chunk it down more to where it's really tactical steps to get to that big goal that's always moving the needle forward. I know we mainly talk about that 3x3 matrix when it comes to like tasks and time management and things like that. But I feel like it's really, you could really apply it to this aspect as well with the expectations and stuff that you have for yourself. Next is emotional eating. Since I'm going to give you guys the ebook, and I'm going to try and find that thing. I'm not going to harp on this for too long. But really, the main things I want you guys to focus on here is identifying triggers and for the emotional eating. So if there's ever any time where you notice that like maybe you're back to ice cream, eating the pint of ice cream, and you're like, well, this is kind of out of norm for me. Like, what's going on? Maybe journal about it and be like, okay, what was I feeling before this? Like, what happened today? What's happened this week that's maybe caused you to have those emotions come up that might be leaning towards the emotional eating. But then also finding like alternative coping mechanisms is big. Journaling, like I just mentioned, is super helpful. Just like getting it down, going and get movement in, whether it be going on a walk or trying something new, pickleball. Maybe it's just going to the gym and getting your workout in, right? Just going to do that instead, or calling up a friend or talking to a loved one or something and just like getting off your chest with someone that you trust. But first is like identifying it and then finding different alternatives for it. Okay. Lack of self-care. Prioritize self-care by scheduling in times for those activities. I almost want you guys to approach the self-care side of things just like you would the physical side of things with like working out and fitness. So put it on your calendar like, okay, I'm going to the gym at this time. Okay, cool. I'm going to read my book at this time. I'm going to get my nails done at this time. I'm going to go on a podcast walk at this time, whatever it may be. Put it on your calendar like it's like an appointment, like you've already got it on your calendar. Because a lot of times self-care gets like snuck by because we don't ever actually plan a time to do it. It's just kind of thrown in whenever we get a chance. But if we actually throw it in there, and it doesn't have to be like an hour long, you can do like 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. But putting it on the calendar and seeing it makes it so much more likely that you'll actually do it. Body image issues. So focusing on your health and how you're feeling rather than like the societal standards and like materialistic outside like norms of what we would typically want to see. So of course we want to see the changes and stuff. But if you're feeling better, you're sleeping better, your energy's better, you're lifting more weights in the gym and stuff, start trying to focus on those things and bringing those things to light in comparison to, oh my gosh, the number on the scale isn't moving, or whatever it may be along those lines. Your skirt fitting differently. Focusing on those more non-scale victories, because the more we can focus on the non-scale victories, of course, the scale and like the clothing victories, physical victories will come, but the more we'll be able to appreciate them and harp on the other ones less. Okay. Guilt and shame. This one is really all about setting boundaries and communicating, I think. Setting the boundaries and communicating just with the people in your inner circle, whether that be like your husband, your family, your friends, whoever you're living with at this time, just letting them know that, like, hey, this is my time for me going to work out. Hubs, I really need your help with the kids during this time. Like communicating that and letting people know. Because if you if you're trying to do it without asking for any help or communicating that, it can be super overwhelming, and then it could also cause like resentment and you getting irritated and things like that. So just like letting them know what you need. And just like, I just need like 15 minutes to myself, or I just want 30 minutes to go read my book in silence. Can you help me out with that? That might help you also with that guilt and shame, because you also know like, okay, kiddos are taken care of, everything's good. I have the ability and the bandwidth to go and do this for myself right now. Next is comparison to others. So celebrating your own progress. Yeah, communication is so important. Exactly. But celebrating your own progress and achievements without comparing yourself to others. So I think it was Michaela or Jen, Serena, correct me if I'm wrong, how she has like the little celebration, the gifts that she gives herself, like getting her toes done and
Michaela.
I think it was Michaela too. Yeah, yeah. So Michaela has this really cool thing. I think she posted it in the Facebook group, you guys, where like she has these little mini goals for herself, and as she achieves those goals, she gets to go get a new outfit or gets to go get her toes done or things along those lines. I think that can be super helpful. I love that tactic because that also helps you kind of like laser focus in on like your progress and what you're doing because you really want to get that gift that you set aside for yourself. And then again, going back to what I was saying before on the past slide of like remembering everyone's journey is different and that 1%. That 1%, knowing that in the back of my head when I compare myself to someone else really helps me kind of step out of that comparison because it's like, well, I don't really have anything to compare on, right? Sweet. So that is all of the mental aspects of things. I'm sure you guys have heard a lot of these before, but anything else, any questions about anything that I went over so far? Good. Okay. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. All right. So just a little blimp that I added in since we do have a lot of moms in the group. So I wanted to, because I know this can be hard for a lot of moms to overcome. But losing weight in general and going through a weight loss transformation, health transformation, whatever it is, getting your body back, it can be challenging no matter if you're trying to lose half a pound or 50 pounds, whatever it is, right? Especially for moms like juggling multiple tasks and stuff. So I really want you guys to hone in and focus on the things that you want to focus on. So, a big part of this presentation that I want you guys to take away from is going back and thinking about the things that I just went over for the mental aspect, because you guys might be different listening. Most people, though, the mental aspect is the part that is going to cause the biggest obstacles. We're going to go over a few physical ones here in a second, but the mental challenge of this is often a lot harder than the physical challenge. So I want you guys to give yourself that like space to be able to prioritize what you know you need to prioritize. So going back through this, I want you to kind of like jot down okay, I'm going to focus on this, this, and this. Maybe do top three, top two, even just like one if you really know you need to focus on one. And then going back and really putting that at like the top of your to-do list throughout the rest of this month or summer or however long you want to focus on it, right? And then pivoting to the next one. But just really being kind to yourself, celebrating the small wins, things like that. But I really do want to challenge you guys to focus in on one main thing that you really want and then pivot to the next one. You're feeling more confident with that, especially with the mental side of things. We can do that for the physical as well, but I want you guys definitely doing at least one of the mental ones. Okay. Sweet. All right. So physical obstacles, we're going to have these as well, which is, I'm going to briefly go over these. They won't be as like in depth as the mental ones because the mental, you really have to do that inner work and work on your own. A lot of these things here, Serena and I can help you with. And that's what we're continuously guiding you through this protocol and programs with. So slow metabolism, hormone imbalances, medical complications, chronic pain, insufficient sleep, which so many of you guys, especially the mamas, have, and then genetics and any medications and stuff. We can't necessarily help you as much with those, but we're going to touch on them just a little bit. Okay. So, slow metabolism, you guys know this. The slower your metabolism, the less calories your body's burning effectively, the easier it is to gain weight. Hence, why the goal is to reverse diet most of you and optimize that metabolism to where your body is burning so many calories on its own to where then you can maintain this body for a lifetime. And your maintenance level of calories is super high. So where you can intuitively eat one day and not have to worry about your intake because it's going to be really hard for you to go in that surplus of overeating to put you into that weight gain phase, right? So many women experience slow metabolism just due to like chronic dieting, diet culture, all of the things in the past. Most of you guys have heard my spiel of like when you try to drive your car without any gas in it and stuff. And that's essentially what causes a slow metabolism is when you try to go, 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 and you don't fuel yourself. So we're working on that as a team. We're working on that to get you to that pit place. Please do not try and reverse diet and speed up calories or deficit or anything. Listen to Coach Serena. She knows exactly what she's doing. There's a very strategic process to getting you from point A to point B when it comes to getting your metabolism set on fire. So don't want you guys to like go haywire with this thinking, I got this. No, we're gonna walk you through it. Okay. hormone imbalances, especially being postpartum. A lot of you women are have your hormones kind of going woo, trying to find its way back to where it wants to be. But hormones play a crucial role in just like regulating your appetite, back to metabolism also. So imbalances can really make weight loss more challenging. Again, this is super individualized. We're going to be focusing on it for each individual one of you. Um, Medical conditions. So anyone that is struggling with anything specific with medical conditions, whether it be like hypothyroidism or PCOS or diabetes or whatever it is, these things are going to make it harder for weight loss, right? But it's not impossible to overcome them. And that's stuff that we're continuously working on through lifestyle changes, diet changes, movement, things like that. Same goes for chronic pain. Want to make sure that one, we're eliminating as much pain as possible, but also engaging in regular exercise to strengthen whatever it is that your body needs to strengthen to get to that next point, or working with anti-inflammatory diets to help with that pain and inflammation that your body might be experiencing. Sleep, everyone's favorite topic. Lack of sweet sleep, which a lot of you guys are experiencing due to having little ones in the house. But lack or poor quality of sleep is really going to help disrupt a lot of these things also going on. So like your hunger, satiety, your metabolism, your hormone imbalances, and all of these things will lead to that weight gain that you've experienced in the past, and that we're trying to combat now, right? And so if we can get that sleep under control through good routines, morning and night routines, those two are very crucial of like having a really consistent routine with that to help your body know like, okay, I'm going to bed. Okay, I'm waking up. Is really super crucial, especially for those cortisol levels that you guys have heard us talk about and harp on of like the stress levels and stuff. But again, we're working with routines specific because everyone's routine looks very different, especially with kids. And then the last two is just genetics and medication. There's always going to be some type of genetic factor that is going to influence your body weight and like fat distribution and stuff, the way you hold your weight, muscle density, and everything. So it's always super individualized. We can combat as much as we can, but there's always going to be that factor there. And the medications as well. The biggest medication that I think of whenever we are talking about like weight loss or weight gain and stuff is just birth control, which a lot of women are on. So if that's something too that you feel like might be kind of waving a red flag, if you are on a form of birth control that you're like, I've gained a little weight since that, definitely bring that up to us. Obviously, go talk to your OBGYN or GP or anything like that as well. But that's definitely going to play a role into like your hormones as well, which can be affecting your progress. So just touching a little bit on those to bring awareness to them. You guys mostly have probably heard of all of these, but these are things, and there's of course plenty more, right? These are just kind of the top ones. I'm not capping it at these, but these are the main ones that we're mostly helping you with when it comes to everything above genetics and medication. So long presentation short, you got this. It's okay to have obstacles. When we're faced with obstacles and challenges during this type of a journey, it's really important to remember that you are capable of overcoming them and it's not the end of the world. A lot of times it feels like I just can't do it, but that's not true. Every step you take forward towards a healthier lifestyle, whether it be like a shuffle in a step or it to mean like you're taking a mile forward, right? No matter how small, it is a significant achievement. So stay focused on your goals, be kind to yourself along the way, and then also surround yourself with positivity and support, whether it's this group or your friends or your family or your coworkers, whatever it may be, having that supportive and positive community is super helpful through a time like this. Um, Remember, progress is not always linear, and it's okay to have those tough days, tough weeks, whatever it may be. We all go through things. And then don't forget to celebrate your victories and celebrate the small wins because the small wins are what gets you to the big wins. So there you go. You got this, guys.
I want to add in too, for the supporting yourself with a good community, like we do have a fun new challenge coming up for accountability. So if you guys maybe haven't like discovered that yet outside of this group, then maybe utilizing this upcoming challenge to kind of start to build that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And It's something, it's a new challenge. So typically when we do like the team challenges every month, we're focusing on like water or steps or colorful foods or something along those lines. We're trying to come up with like new challenges for you guys as well. And so June's challenge, which I have a video explaining everything, I'll post kind of the rules and the details and things like that. Coming up pretty soon. But June's challenge is going to be on accountability. And of course, it's going to be like accountability to us as your coaches and things like that. But it's also going to be accountability with like getting your friends involved, getting your family involved, and like accountability in your like physical environment as well. Because having an online space and people online to help support and encourage you, of course, 100% super crucial, but also making sure you have that support in your personal physical environment is also super, super important. So we really want to hone in on that for our next team challenge as well. Awesome. Sweet, you guys. Any questions, comments, anything like that, you guys?
Not for me.
Sweet. How are we feeling about everything? I know it's kind of crazy with summer coming up, vacations. How are we feeling about obstacles? Good.
I think my biggest obstacle is me.
Hey, that's okay. I'm glad you said that because you and everyone else too. Like that's we are our own biggest critics. We're our own biggest like
Mm-hmm.
battlers. Like, we're always like going back and forth with ourselves in our head. So that's huge. And like we talked about at the very beginning, the first thing to do is, figure out what the obstacle is and learn how to tackle it, right? So you're here, you're making these changes, you're tackling it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, you guys. Well, I'll post this recording for the replay in the Facebook group so you guys can go back and do figure out which mental obstacle you guys really want to start working on. And then I will also post the emotional eating stuff as well so you guys can have your hands on that. Okay.
Awesome.
Anything, yeah, anything with the emotional eating too, if you guys have any questions as you're going through it, don't hesitate to just drop it in the Facebook group, like on the comments or something, because if you have the question, most likely someone else does as well. Okay.
Mm.
Sweet. All right, you guys. Well, have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye,
All
guys.
right. Bye.